Welcome to the Texas High School Football Coaches Show on Lone Star Gridiron. I'm Chris Daly, and it's my belief that the men that make up the fraternity of Texas high school football coaches are much more than a bunch of thick-necked guys with whistles. They do so much more than teach technique and the X's and O's of football. They take young boys and change them into young men of character. They get kids to believe in themselves, to trust others, and to put others ahead of themselves. Texas high school football coaches are unique in how they impact the lives of these athletes as well as the generations those kids touch. In this show, I sit down with a different Texas high school football coach each time and learn about them. Not their record, not their on-field accomplishments, but who they are and what they believe and what it means to be part of the greatest sport in the greatest state. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lone Star Gridiron Texas High School Football Coaches Show, Season 4, Episode 21. I'm your host, Chris Daly, and the city of Frisco is booming. It is not only booming in population, it is booming in football. My guest today is Coach Chad Cole from Frisco Reedy. He's the only coach they've ever had, and they started play, I think, 2016. He has changed them from a 3-win team to a 13-win team last season. We will talk to him right after this. Hey, I want to give a big thank you to this season's title sponsor, Mecca Sportswear, where they are all about celebrating achievement. They're honored that so many high schools, colleges, and universities have chosen Mecca's products to represent their institutions. Mecca supplies you with the very best in custom letter jackets, chenille letters, patches, blankets, banners, pins, certificates, and much more to motivate and celebrate achievement in athletics, academics, or the arts. They create high-quality custom awards that will fit your budget. To see why so many great schools around Texas choose Mecca Sportswear, call Sherry Armstrong or Billy Armstrong at 210-651-6592. Mecca Sportswear, the premier suppliers of letter jackets and awards for over 40 years. If you're looking for a quick and easy way to raise a bunch of money for your sports team, 99 Pledges is the best way for football teams and booster clubs to raise the most money with the least amount of effort. Donors can donate online. Each player gets their own donation page that they can share with their friends and family all over the country, like grandparents in Florida by email, text, Facebook, or any of the social media outlets. By going online with 99 Pledges, it's easy to spread the word about your fundraiser, keep everyone involved and informed. Because of this, 99 Pledges has seen teams raise over $30,000. And teams like the Katy Tigers have exceeded their fundraising goal. That's the best part. Teams keep an average of 95% of what they raise. Players don't have to go door to door or track down donations. They can save all that energy for where it counts, on the gridiron. Check them out at 99pledges.com. They are an excellent organization. You're going to be so glad that your next fundraiser is through these guys. Hi, everybody. Join me in welcoming Coach Chad Cole from Frisco Reedy to the show. Coach, how are you doing?
Doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. So this season, what we want to do is we first start out asking you about the first time you became aware of the sport of football.
Oh, goodness. That's the first question you're hitting me with?
Yeah.
I mean, as far back as I can remember, I was a small-town kid and lived outside of town, and when I couldn't talk to friends into getting into any trouble, then I had the little plastic helmet on, that was kind of torn inside, and I'd have to tape it on the side to pretend to be a football player in the backyard. So I remember those memories vividly. I'd say I was 4 maybe.
So where'd you grow up, and who'd you follow in the NFL?
I grew up in Sanger, Texas. My family owned a trucking company there, and then my mother got remarried, and we moved to Pilot Point, where my stepfather was from. So it was just across the lake, but it was like a whole different world, because I'm moving into a perennial powerhouse football town, and the old regime from Sanger, they were questioning it, but it really worked out well for me. My best friends were the head coach's sons, and so I just got entrenched in that. That's probably what attracted me to football in general, because it was Pilot Point and everybody was a Pilot Point Bearcat, and it was all football all the time. But just being inside the head coach's house for dinner and watching how that dynamic took place, and then seeing as a role model on the field, and then seeing him as a father in his home, it was attractive to me. So that's probably early what guided me in this direction.
So I guess you played high school at Pilot Point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then went off to college and decided to become a coach. Tell me about that.
Well, it wasn't always that path. Like everyone out of college, I had a pretty successful collegiate career at Tarleton, and I knew that that's as far as my athletic ability was going to take me. I stretched it as far as I could, so I needed to go out into the real world and make a bunch of money, and I dove into that for about 2 years, and was absolutely miserable. And the same guy I speak of, my head coach in high school, after my second sales job and being in a room where our company disbanded during our sales meeting, and I didn't even have a ride home because I had a company truck. And I was like, yeah, boy, this ain't for me. And he calls and says, I got a quarterback job for you. Come on. And it was like, the weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I mean, it really is part of my testimony, because I believe that God showed me I don't ever have to second guess the calling that I have now, because I experienced that other world, and it wasn't for me, and I wasn't comfortable in it. So, really comfortable in doing what I'm doing now. So
nice. So if you could take us from that quarterback's job up to today, all the positions you've held.
Well, I was blessed to start out with that group of really close-knit friends and mentors, and my old high school head coach, and his oldest son was a defensive coordinator at Prosper, and my best friend was a tight end coach in Prosper. So I jumped in with those guys, and I spent 3 seasons there at Prosper, one as a quarterback coach, and then we had a little adjusting that next year, and Coach Jones, Jerry Jones, had to retire with some health complications. So I bumped the OC up to head coach, and I got to take over the offensive coordinator job for a couple of years. So second year in coaching, I'm a 2A offensive coordinator. Had no business doing it, but it was good life lessons and things that I can look back now and go, I wish I'd have known. I might have been a little bit better at my job then. So was blessed with those experiences. Slid on up to the Metroplex a little further, and worked with Coach Ronnie Mullins his last year at Frisco High. So developed some of those Frisco connections. Chased that same defensive coordinator from Prosper over to Grapevine. He's now the offensive coordinator at Grapevine, and got to be the quarterback coach in a 5A program at that point. Was a great experience. And then my wife and I at the time were living in McKinney, and so that was in about 2005, before 121 was built, and so it was, I think, 23 red lights one way to get from McKinney to Grapevine. So we were newlyweds and expecting our first child, and knew that we needed a different plan. So that was 2006 when they built Frisco Wakeland. So because of the connections I had at Frisco High, was able to get an interview there and land a quarterback job there at Wakeland with Coach Secord. So you know, and man, that was where I learned a lot of football. Spent 9 years there with Coach Secord and quarterbacks and offensive coordinator, and you know, learned the Frisco way. And I guess I learned it well enough for them to trust me with the school number 8, which is Reedy. We were the 8th high school, and you know, we were built in 2015, so got the job in 2015.
Nice. So along the way, you mentioned several coaches. If you could, pull out a few of them that were very influential in your career and maybe some of the things they actually taught you.
Well, you know, I think about Coach Mullins. He's now at Irving Mack, and just the structure of the program that I walked into at Frisco High, and how all of those, you know, lifelong friends of mine now that work for him, just, I mean, it was just, they were so passionate about their jobs, and so everybody was, it felt like they didn't want to let their friend, their colleague, you know, the guy that's working beside them, all trying to accomplish the same goal, you know. So everybody's working hard, and Coach Mullins just instilled that with his leadership, that, you know, we're going to do everything possible to give our kids the best chance to be successful. You know, don't let it be on the coaches to not have this ship moving forward. So, you know, that really stuck out to me. Coach Secord, just, you know, what a lifelong Christian mentor, leading his program the right way, giving kids examples, you know, that can last the rest of their lives, bigger than football. You know, it's teaching them to be great husbands and fathers, and these characteristics that you're battling and learning in the game of football is teaching you about life. And so just really got to expand on that piece. You know, football is football, and you can sit around and talk X's and O's all day, and I love doing that. That's what got me into the profession. But watching these men of character lead their programs, you know, through their assistant coaches into the eyes of their kids, was something that I'll, you know, cherish for the rest of my career.
Nice. And when you went to Frisco Reedy, when you got hired, how much was already done before you got there, talking about things like, you know, the mascot chosen, the colors, you know, all that detail?
Well, I was in on the ground floor of that. I think the board chose the colors, and it kind of started as a navy and a chartreuse, like a Seattle Seahawks, you know, and then it worked its way back down to a navy and a forest green. I think they found that the sporting good places are going to have a lot of trouble getting chartreuse and as our accent color. So we let the kids, you know, we're in the process of voting on our mascot. We let kids that were in our middle schools in ninth grade, because we opened as a freshman and sophomore campus, so we let those kids vote on a mascot, gave them a menu of mascots, so got to be a part of that. I mean, you know, my principal, when she offered me the job, it was a really cool experience, and I really appreciate her going to lengths to make it special for me. She walked me down to the field house, and the field, I mean, it was construction, and it was concrete and workers everywhere, and I had to wear a hard hat, and she walks me into where is now my office, and she had a piece of tape and a piece of paper and tapes up head coach Chad Cole on the door. That's just, it didn't even have a frame in it yet. So, you know, man, I'll never forget that experience. That was really cool. So we got to do everything. We had to get a special permit to actually have practice the first day of fall camp because construction wasn't finished around here. So
nice. Now you've been involved at a couple different new schools. Talk about, you know, the challenge of that.
Well, I truly believe that, you know, my experiences at Wakeland and us opening that school in very similar situation, actually we were freshmen, sophomores, and juniors as we opened at Wakeland, just freshmen and sophomores. So we didn't have that JV season when we opened at Wakeland, but just having those experiences and having Coach Secord to lean on and ask questions and remember what we did here as a base to start. You know, I might want to do it a little bit differently. Hey, some of that stuff didn't work out that well, you know, or we can do it better this way. But that really was beneficial in us opening this school.
Well, and if you look at your results, I mean, Reedy has been successful very quickly. A lot of times when there's an expansion in a school area or in a town, they take a while to get up to speed with the other more established programs. But it seems like, you know, Reedy's just rocking and rolling. How do you explain that?
You know, a combination of just spectacular kids. I mean, our kids are just fantastic when it comes to work ethic, and I think it's easy to me. You know, I believe it's easier starting a program than it is to go in there and revamp a program, right? I didn't have any bad seeds. I didn't have any things I had to get rid of and coaches that were jaded and you know, not working as hard as they should. I didn't have any of those problems. So we could focus on the here and now. And we got freshmen and sophomores that we just talked about. If you'll give us your best effort and have a great attitude, you know, the sky's the limit. And knowing full well that first senior class, I kept telling them, guys, you're not promised success. You're just promised an opportunity to lay a foundation. And we truly preach that message because, you know, we weren't supposed to go 9-2 their senior year, you know, and just getting on a roll in that buy-in that we established and in the weight room. You know, you see kids that are actually getting gains and results because of that no questions asked buy-in. And he was like, hey, and then, you know, having the right mix of kids and a quarterback that had taken every snap for 4 years. I mean, those things, the experience that those young kids got, varsity, basically getting varsity coaches coaching them as freshmen and sophomores, and, you know, so reps were a big key. But I just think, you know, more so than anything else was we set expectations and we held our kids accountable to those expectations, and they didn't know any different because they were young enough to believe us and hadn't been through anything where it told them any different, that I need to coast here or I need to question what the coach is saying. So, you know, perfect scenario for us, I would say.
Nice. If you could pull out some of the goods and bads of sitting in the big chair, being the head coach versus being able to work, spend a lot more time with, let's say, a quarterback or something like that. Kind of talk about the differences there. Well,
you're right. It is a change. And Coach Kirkendall always told me when I was at Wakeland as the offensive coordinator and I'd interview for a job, you know, and he's like, you got the best job. You got the best job in the district. Offensive coordinator gets to sit in the box on Friday nights and play a video game, you know, of calling plays and reading defenses. I mean, that really is a good job. I mean, this is obviously great to lead a program, but it does come with the pitfalls of you know, having to be the big whistle, as they call me, and having to tell people no and tell people they're doing things wrong and ask people to do things better and you know, so it's more about we than some assistant coaches. You know, you can concentrate it down to your little position group and focus on that and take care of that. And I got to back off and look at the big picture. I mean, I might be running, you know, to get a video camera in the middle of practice or go change a segment timer. I'm just I'm the fifth arm. I'm the fifth arm in routes on air. They still let me do that. So as long as they let me throw for 10 minutes a day, then everything else is gravy.
Nice. If you can, also, let's talk about the difference between small school and large school, because you've experienced both.
I have, and I talked to the kids the other day because, you know, growing up in Pilot Point and watching that, you know, I mean, we were probably 16 years in a row district champion when I started at quarterback for the Bearcats there, and so it wasn't we're excited to win. We're scared to death to lose because we got the guys that we just walked through that are on the fence, that are the older brothers and cousins, and they're giving us very strong adjectives to describe what we need to do tonight to not screw this thing we got going up, because they built that, you know. So that was very different than coming into this situation, and it's very different from Frisco in general. What we struggle with here is that community. You have to build the community within the community, and it's really just your parents. Mm-hmm. You know, so you've got to get that parent following as strong as possible and have those open lines of communication so that they feel comfortable with you and feel comfortable communicating with you, and then eventually supporting you after their buy-in. You know, so that's what we try to do, and obviously winning football games, the student body will buy in very quickly when you start winning some football games. So just having that combination of a strong student following and great parent support, I mean, you know, that's one thing that makes our kids very successful, is they have very successful parents that are strong believers in everything that we have going, and that really helped us. So, you know, football's football from the 2A level to the 5A level, but, you know, that those other dynamics, I think, are what makes it difficult to switch between the two, maybe, if you will.
Right.
But that was what, let me finish, follow that up. You know, that's what I always, I mean, because I have that memory in my head of just that experience, and those kids, those players that I graduated with, 60 strong in Pilot Point, Texas, are some of my best friends, and they're in my wedding, and they're the guys I call when I need a favor. And I got a letter from a mom of a senior the other day, and she said, I kind of snickered when my kid was a freshman, and you told us that at a parent meeting. Said, you know, you said that they're going to develop incredible bonds, that these kids are the kids that they're going to hang around for the rest of their life. And then she said, you're right, because they are. And through this experience, you know, he has developed lifelong friendships and strong relationships, and has learned to depend on others through the game of football. And that's pretty cool, you know, for the right reasons, because we went into a struggle together, and because I held you accountable and you held me accountable, I can depend on you now. And so those experiences right there, no matter if you're in a 2A or 5A, are what you're looking for a kid to get out of a program at the end of the day.
Amen. And, you know, people pay lip service to, coach has a tough job. But one thing that I don't hear mentioned very often is the fact that your kids are constantly changing, your parents are constantly changing. So you've got a whole new set of relationships every single season. Talk about that a little bit, and what a task that is.
Well, yeah, you know, and it starts, tonight we have an incoming freshman, you know, we call a rising freshman night. So we have the 8th grade parents that are coming in looking at schedules, and we're going to be set up in the library, and we want to start that relationship. And again, the faster we get down into the middle school and the 7th grade football and the 8th grade football games and start forming those relationships and learning those kids' names, I mean, the more that we can expand upon it. But, you know, I'm graduating 40 seniors this year. And that's, you know, and that was part of our success, because I had 40 guys that were bought into our program for 4 years, and it really set the bar extremely high. But, you know, those guys are fixing to move on and do great things in their life. And the guys that are in off season right now are the ones that we have to go back and form those relationships with and make sure that they have 100% buy-in and are giving us the same effort and attitude that these seniors that are about to graduate did. And that's a full-time job in and of itself. And every coach has got to be on board, and every coach has got to be bought into spending that extra time, making sure that they understand one another. And the better and more effort that you place in that being important, I think the more benefits you get out of it. So, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and you talked earlier about your first love in football were the X's and O's. But then you also mentioned the kids that are graduating, going on to do better things and great things with their lives. When did that transition happen for you from X's and O's being all the focus to the future of these young men?
Yeah, I think it's constant. Mm-hmm. I think the more experience you get in this profession, the deeper rooted you get into the experiences factor and the relationships. And to be honest, another factor for me is being a parent. Mm-hmm. When I was single, I might have treated an athlete with a different respect. I might have viewed a high school athlete just a little bit differently than I do now. And I see that in some young coaches that, they're just a means to an end sometimes, a means to a victory, or just one piece of the puzzle instead of being the entire puzzle. I mean, they're the entire puzzle, right? They're why we're here. They're why we chose this profession. And so now looking at it as a father through my son's eyes, it's a whole nother ballgame, and you want those same experiences for your children, but you also want your children treated the same way that you're trying to treat your athletes right now. So yeah, that probably, and I believe, from the first day you start in coaching till the last day, you're learning that lesson, and it probably gets better the further along you go.
Right. And being the big whistle, you now hire coaches. So when you're doing that, what do you look for in a new hire?
You're looking for that in some form or fashion. You're looking for the guy that's passionate about his career, and you want to make sure that he's in it for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And so, that comes in many different forms, and everybody could express that differently, but you just have to spend time with a candidate and spend time with the candidate's peer group and peer circle and past experiences, and ask those questions. And, how bought in was he to programs, and how did he care about kids, and how did he treat kids, and just make sure that, that was the very difficult part about opening Reedy, was we had to hire so many coaches so fast that I don't know that, I spent enough quality time with each candidate because we needed applicants so fast and filling positions. And so that is a learning curve as well. It's just hiring the right candidate and learning how to decipher through their interview questions, what kind of person they are on the inside.
Nice. And you've got a fan watching the game from the stands. What are some things you would tell that fan to watch for? Because everybody seems to follow the ball or watch their child. So in watching football, what should they do differently, or what should they try to check out?
Well, for us last year, it was our offensive line. Mm-hmm. We stacked together 5 of the largest human beings I've been associated with in my 18 years of coaching, and it was a thing of beauty, and it really it allowed us to be consistent and run the football and establish the line of scrimmage and all those good things you try to do. But beauty's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? I mean, a fan is up there watching what he wants to watch, from our energetic receiver coach bouncing up and down the sideline, high bumping all of our receivers as they come off the field, to to the quarterback making plays and run. It's just soak it all in. I mean, that's what high school football is about. We were blessed to play 7 games in the Star, which is another just high school amazement, that we get, Frisco gets to play high school games in that fantastic facility. But, we'll look up and we're in an intense moment, and I look over and, they got the camera shining right on me, and my head looks, 10 foot tall up there, and oh my goodness. But, man, just all kinds of experiences. But, as the fan in the stands, you just have to keep the negative comments to yourself, right?
Amen. Well, Coach Chad Cole, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me and giving us a little insight into your background.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the time. And, anytime you guys want to slide up here, you're more than welcome. So come visit us anytime.
This show is brought to you by the book, All I Need to Know I Learned from My Texas High School Football Coach, a handbook of wisdom for parents, young people, and yes, even coaches. Head over to www.learnedfromcoach.com and order your copy to support sharing the stories of these great coaches and leaders. That's learnedfromcoach.com.
Once again, I want to thank Coach Chad Cole from Frisco Reedy for sitting down and sharing a little bit of his story with me. And I want to remind you to please go out and support these sponsors. They are the reason that we are able to bring you this show each and every week during the off season. Until next time, I'm Chris Daly, and we'll see you at the game.